So here's a quick reminder about the experience of intense sensation. There seems to be a lot of avoidance, hesitation, and resistance around these experiences that seem to be showing up all the time. We could call the intensity of that the fire. We can even look at the story of the Buddha as a pointer along the way. And sitting at the base of that Bodhi tree, the Buddha rested and was approached by Mara, who is the god of temptation and desire. And in the story, Mara lit the Buddha on fire, and he began to burn. And in that, there were no longer any internal resistances or external reactions. There was just the burning. And the Buddha allowed the fire to burn all the way through and thus erupted into nirvana. It's a very powerful metaphor of something that you are likely experiencing now and something you've been experiencing along the way. Whether that be the burn of anger, the burn of fear, the deep intensity of sadness, or whatever these sensational, emotional experiences seem to be that you've been fighting. This is a call and a reminder not to put out the fire. You don't have to do anything to extinguish or quench it. And it's kind of like this. It's in the midst of feeling a lot of anger, maybe somebody will stand up and kick a trash can. And if we just sit with that experience, we start to see what's happening there. The intensity of feeling leads to an reaction rather, that is designed to help quench our perception of that feeling. By kicking the trash can, there is a numbing, a narcotic effect on the fire of anger. This is what all reaction is. And the pointing here is to sit with responsibility, and responsibility can only take place here and now. It can only happen in the moment. It's how we respond to experience. It's how we engage with how attention seems to move. We move with it. We step directly into attention. That is our response. To walk outside in the sunshine and to feel the warmth on the skin, as soon as that warmth becomes available to the senses and to attention, we step into that experience. That is our response. That is responsibility. The big difference between responsibility and reaction is that reaction is an attempt to secondarily reject that experience. We notice the feeling of the sun on our skin, and then we attempt to move away from that experience. Now, it's not to say that we don't move accordingly and let the body do what it does, but it points to a relationship and paying attention to how these reactions form. The intensity of feeling is the fire. If we allow the fire to burn, maybe it burns all the way through into a realization that all here is feeling, and all feeling is perfectly okay, that we are feeling well-being. But if we feel the fire and we attempt to stomp it out or roll or do something to extinguish it, we somehow step into an experience that we would call perpetuating that flame, perpetuating that fire, and then we must catch fire again and again and again. The pointing here is to remind you that you don't need to put out the fire, for you are the fire. You are these sensations, the intensity of all experience. You are the nature of this universe. You are all things. And to recognize that is to recognize the intensity and to recognize ourselves in the intensity. Stepping deeply into that flame, becoming the furnace, and realizing that the gateway to heaven often can look like hell, but hell isn't what we think. It's simply the purification. It's where Kali meets us and purifies us in this recreation, this rebirthing. And we begin to see that samsara itself is right here, right now, that we can die and become reborn in this experience, completely transformed. And that can continue, seems to continue indefinitely. It begins to collapse. This sense of time, this unfolding becomes a sudden unfolded, never unfolded, a paradox. The beginning becomes the end. We realize we are simultaneously here and gone. So let this video be a reminder to step directly into the experience of intensity, to see if you can prove to the mind that it's going to kill you, to see if you can allow the clarity and the purification to take place, to see if you don't have to actually put out that fire. And maybe you will discover that you are the fire. And to discover you are the fire is to burst into nirvana. It is to step into rebirth. And it is to become absolutely clarified and purified in the furnace of what is.